Have you ever noticed how the quietest spaces are sometimes the loudest? You walk into a room, turn down a familiar street, or sit quietly in a favorite corner, and suddenly the silence is deafening. The air feels overwhelmingly heavy, with the memory of someone who is no longer there. What if the hardest part of letting go is not simply accepting that they are gone, but surviving the places where they used to be? Most of your suffering in these moments is not caused by the location itself. It is caused by the intense friction between what your eyes see and what your heart still demands. If you have ever felt blindsided by a memory, anxious in a space that once felt safe, or exhausted by the invisible weight of what is missing, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you navigate the landscape of your loss forever. There is a profound and unique kind of pain in revisiting the physical spaces of our past. You are just trying to live your life, walking through a local market or sitting on a park bench, and without any warning, the atmosphere changes, your heart races, your breath catches. The peace you fought so heavily to build over weeks or months is suddenly disturbed. Why does this happen? Because we anchor our attachments not just to people, but to the environments where those people existed. We quietly expect the physical world to look completely different when our emotional world shatters, but it does not. The trees remain exactly where they were. The buildings stand tall. The empty chair at the table looks entirely unchanged, and that creates a devastating collision between reality and memory. Buddhist wisdom teaches us deeply about the nature of attachment and the illusion of permanence. We suffer because our mind clings to a vivid snapshot of the past, desperately projecting it onto the present moment. When you walk through a physical space tied to loss, your body is moving through the present, but your mind is walking through a memory. You are attempting to live in two timelines at once, and the human heart cannot hold both without experiencing deep distress. The spiritual teaching here is not to force yourself to erase the memory, but to recognize that the space itself is neutral. The intense suffering arises from your mind demanding that the past return, or refusing to accept that the present moment is now empty of what you desire. Imagine walking through a house of mirrors. Every single surface you look at reflects a different version of yesterday. If you keep staring deeply into the glass, hoping the reflection will magically step out into the room and stand beside you, you will only become exhausted, trapped, and entirely lost. But a mirror only holds an image as long as you stand in front of it. The mirror itself is empty. The physical spaces around you are exactly like those mirrors. They reflect your inner attachments. They echo back the love, the loss, and the quiet longing you are still carrying inside. Ask yourself honestly. Think about your own life. What places have you been avoiding because they feel far too heavy to bear? What rooms do you walk into with your breath held tightly, unconsciously bracing yourself for the ghost of a memory? Pause, breathe. The next time you find yourself standing in a place that disturbs your peace, do not fight the memory. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. Look at the chair, the street, or the room, and silently acknowledge the truth. This is a place where something beautiful happened, but it is only a place. You do not have to abandon your memory to find peace. Peace is not found by avoiding the places they used to be. It is found by changing how you walk through them. But making peace with the echoes of empty spaces is only the beginning, because beneath the surface of the memory lies a deeper illusion. We must face the belief that the ground beneath our feet was ever truly still. 2. The illusion of unchanging ground. What if the reason you feel so unsteady is not because your life is falling apart, but because you expected it to stand completely still? Here is the truth few people want to face. We are deeply addicted to permanence. We want our homes, our daily routines, and the people we love to remain exactly as they are, forever preserved in the warm amber of our comfort. When someone is suddenly gone, the spaces they inhabited feel terribly wrong. We walk down the same familiar street, sit at the same kitchen table, or look out the same window, and we feel a deep, silent betrayal. The physical world did not change, yet absolutely everything is different. The heavy anxiety that washes over you in these moments comes from a fracture in your reality. You believed the ground beneath your feet was solid. You assumed the beautiful scenery of your life was permanent. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound truth of impermanence. Everything, every relationship, every emotion, every physical form, every quiet afternoon is in a constant state of shifting and fading. We suffer so intensely not because things change, but because we fiercely resist that change. We cling to the illusion that the ground we stand on will never move. Buddhism reminds us that nothing in the physical world is meant to remain frozen in time. To demand that a place, a person, or a single moment stay exactly the same is to argue with the very nature of existence. Imagine a wide river flowing steadily toward the ocean. If you try to step into the exact same water twice, you will fail. The shape of the river remains, the banks are still there, but the water itself is completely new. If you reach down and try to tightly grasp the water in your hands to keep it from leaving, it will only slip through your clenched fingers. The harder you squeeze, the less you hold. This is exactly what we do in our everyday lives. We try to grasp the water. We revisit a familiar location, open a quiet room, or stare at a silent phone, expecting to capture the exact same warmth we felt a year ago. When the feeling is missing, we panic. We feel a sudden rush of fear, a tightening in the chest, as if we have lost our balance entirely. But you have not lost your balance. You are simply trying to hold on to water that has already moved downstream. Ask yourself, think about your own life. Are you quietly exhausted from trying to keep everything exactly the way it used to be? Are you demanding that the river stop flowing just because you desperately miss the way the water felt yesterday? Pause. Breathe. Feel your feet resting on the floor right now. The ground is here to support you in this exact moment, not the moments of the past. The next time you feel the overwhelming urge to freeze time in a room full of memories, stop. Observe the thought without following it. You do not have to hold the world together. Let the current move, because peace is not found by building walls around the past. It is found by allowing the river of life to carry you forward. But even when we begin to accept that things must change, we often stumble into a much heavier, hidden trap. We begin to convince ourselves that our pain is a measure of our love. And this is where the next truth begins. 3. The heavy anchor of grief as loyalty. What if the reason you refuse to let go of your pain is because you secretly believe it is the only thing keeping them close? Here is the truth few people want to face. We often confuse our suffering with our love. The tighter you hold on to the hurt, the more you suffer, yet a quiet voice inside tells you that you must keep holding on. When we lose someone deeply important, we naturally grieve. But as the seasons change and the months pass, the sadness begins to shift. It quietly transforms from a natural reaction into a heavy obligation. We subconsciously tell ourselves that moving forward, feeling light, or letting the pain fade is an act of betrayal. We think, if I am not hurting, does it mean they did not matter? If I let this sadness go, will I forget them entirely? So, we drag this heavy weight into every room we enter. We cling to the anxiety, the tightness in the chest, the overwhelming shadow, because we are terrified that if the grief disappears, the connection will disappear right along with it. In Buddhist thought, this is one of the most subtle and painful forms of attachment. We attach ourselves not just to the people we lost, but to the suffering created by their absence. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that true love and true peace do not require you to bleed indefinitely. Non-attachment does not mean you stop caring, and it certainly does not mean you erase your past. It means you stop clinging to your pain as a substitute for presence. You are allowed to honor what is gone without destroying the life that remains in front of you. Imagine a small wooden boat dragging a massive, heavy iron anchor across the ocean floor. The anchor was necessary at first. You dropped it when the violent storm of loss initially hit because you desperately needed to stay grounded just to survive. But the dark clouds have moved on. The storm has passed. Now, the boat is trying to gently move forward toward new waters, but the heavy anchor is tearing up the seabed, slowing the journey to a painful, exhausting crawl. You are the boat. Your persistent grief is the anchor. Keeping it dragged behind you will not bring back the violent storm, and it will not bring back the shore you left behind. It will only slowly sink you under the weight of its rust. Think about how this heavy anchor shows up in your modern life. You wake up one morning feeling surprisingly light, and almost instantly, a harsh voice in your head tells you that you shouldn't be. You walk past a photograph or revisit a place that carries their memory, and you almost force yourself to feel shattered, just to prove to the universe that you have not forgotten. You carry this invisible burden to work, into your friendships, and into the quiet, lonely hours of the night. You are exhausting yourself in the name of loyalty. Ask yourself, think about your own life. Are you holding on to your suffering because you think it makes your love more real? What are you afraid will happen if you finally pull up the anchor and allow the boat to float freely? Pause, breathe, feel the immense weight you have been carrying on your shoulders. You do not need to hurt to prove that you loved. Let the feeling of obligation rise, and then let it pass. Do not follow it into the dark, because peace is not an insult to the people we have lost. It is a beautiful, quiet honoring of the life you still have. But letting go of this loyalty to pain is complicated, because eventually the clouds will part, and what happens when you accidentally feel good again? And this is where the next truth begins. 4. The sudden guilt of a smiling heart. What if the most difficult emotion to process after a profound loss is not the sadness, but the joy? Here is the truth few people want to face. We are secretly terrified of our own healing. You are walking through your day, having coffee with a friend, or perhaps just watching something simple on a screen. Out of nowhere, a moment of pure lightness catches you. You smile. You might even laugh out loud. For a split second, the heavy cloak of grief drops from your shoulders, and you feel entirely normal. But almost instantly, an internal alarm sounds. A deep, cold wave of guilt rushes over you. How can you be laughing? How can you feel happy when they are gone? In an instant, you punish yourself for the lightness. You quickly pull the heavy cloak back over your shoulders, convinced that your smile was an act of terrible betrayal. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that joy and sorrow are not enemies fighting for control of your heart. They are simply passing clouds in the vast, open sky of your awareness. We suffer because we try to strictly manage our emotions. We mistakenly believe we only have the right to feel one thing at a time. But in Buddhist thought, mindfulness is about pure acceptance of whatever is arising right now. A moment of unexpected laughter does not cancel out the depth of your love, nor does it erase the reality of your loss. It is simply the natural rhythm of your life returning to balance. Imagine a tall, ancient tree enduring a long, bitter winter. For months, its branches are completely bare, frozen, and weighed down by heavy ice. It stands perfectly still in the freezing wind. But eventually, the seasons shift. The sun warms the bark, and one morning, a single, tiny green leaf breaks through the frost. The leaf does not disrespect the harsh winter. It does not mean the cold never happened. It is simply the natural instinct of the tree to reach for the light when the sun finally shines. You are that tree. When you are sitting at a dinner table and catch yourself genuinely enjoying a conversation, or when you walk through a park and feel a sudden burst of peace, that is your leaf breaking through the frost. Yet, so often in our everyday lives, we tear that leaf away. We feel a moment of excitement about a new day, or we enjoy a quiet evening without tears. And immediately we shame ourselves. We think we are moving on too fast. We believe we must remain frozen in winter to prove that we still care. Ask yourself. Think about your own life. Are you fiercely punishing yourself for the moments when your heart naturally tries to heal? Why do you believe your love requires a lifetime of absolute darkness to be valid? Pause. Breathe. The next time a genuine smile breaks through the heavy clouds of your grief, do not quickly cover your mouth. Let the lightness rise without making an apology for it. Observe the joy and let it simply be. You are allowed to feel the warmth of the sun. Because peace is not an erasure of your past, and joy is not a betrayal. It is the beautiful proof that your spirit is still alive. But simply tolerating these fleeting moments of lightness is not enough. We must understand the profound spiritual necessity of allowing them to stay. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. The Buddhist truth of allowing joy. What if denying yourself happiness is actually a form of deep spiritual resistance? Here is the truth few people want to face. We often believe that rejecting our own joy is a noble sacrifice, a way to honor the people who are no longer here. But in reality, pushing away joy is simply another way of clinging to our pain. When we experience a profound loss, our world naturally shrinks. We step back from the hobbies we once loved, the social gatherings we used to enjoy, and the simple, quiet pleasures of an ordinary morning. Over time, we begin to find a strange, familiar comfort in the emptiness. We convince ourselves that filling that empty space with laughter or lightness would mean we are erasing the person we lost. We believe that remaining in a perpetual state of sorrow is the only way to keep the memory sacred. So, we guard our sadness fiercely, shutting out any experience that might make us feel alive again. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that suffering is an inevitable part of the human experience, but we are not meant to artificially manufacture it. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is the practice of true acceptance. Mindfulness is about welcoming whatever arrives at your door in the present moment. If deep sorrow knocks, you sit with it. But if joy arrives, you must not bolt the door against it. Refusing to allow joy is a form of intense attachment. It is an attachment to a specific, painful version of your reality. Buddhism reminds us that the heart is vast enough to hold both the profound grief of yesterday and the beautiful sunlight of today. Imagine a quiet room where the heavy curtains have been drawn tight to keep out a terrifying storm. For days, the storm rages outside, and the darkness inside the room feels necessary and safe. Eventually, the heavy rain stops. The clouds break. A tiny, warm beam of morning light finds its way through a small crack in the fabric. But instead of opening the curtains to let the sun wash over the room, you rush over and quickly patch the crack. You are so used to the safety of the dark that you treat the light as an intruder. We do this constantly in our modern lives. You are invited out by friends, and a small part of you desperately wants to go, but you politely decline, feeling you have no right to celebrate. You hear a piece of music that makes your spirit lift, but you quickly change the station. You tape up the cracks in the curtains because you are terrified that if you let the light in, the shadows of the past will disappear entirely. Ask yourself, think about your own life. Are you actively closing the curtains on your own existence just to keep the darkness intact? Is denying yourself joy truly bringing you peace, or is it simply feeding your fear of letting go? Pause, breathe. The next time a moment of peace, lightness, or happiness arrives at your door, Do not turn it away. Stop trying to force the door closed. Welcome the light, even if it feels terrifyingly unfamiliar. Let the warmth touch your skin without feeling the need to apologize for it. Because joy is not a sign that you have forgotten what was lost. It is the purest expression of life continuing to breathe through you. But as you begin to let the light back in, you will quickly realize that life itself has an unstoppable momentum. You cannot stay in the quiet room forever, and this is where the next truth begins. 6. The river that must keep flowing. What if the hardest part of surviving loss is not the past you left behind, but the future that insists on arriving? Here is the truth few people want to face. The world does not stop when our hearts break. When you are standing in the center of a profound loss, the movement of the outside world can feel deeply offensive. You look out the window and see cars driving by, people hurrying to work, and strangers drinking coffee on the corner. The calendar stubbornly turns to a new month. The seasons change. You want to scream out loud and demand that everyone stop. How can they keep going when everything in your universe has completely shattered? The overwhelming exhaustion you feel every single day is not just from the grief itself. It is from the massive amount of energy you spend trying to resist the relentless forward motion of life. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that all of existence is in continuous motion. The very nature of life is flow. We suffer immensely when we believe we can freeze time, or when we resent the universe for continuing its natural cycles. In Buddhist thought, attempting to stop the flow of time is a deep and painful form of attachment. It is a refusal to accept the reality of the present moment. The spiritual teaching here is not that your pain is unimportant to the universe. It is that the universe moves forward out of necessity, and it is quietly inviting you to move with it. You do not have to abandon your history to step into tomorrow, but you cannot live your life entirely facing backward. Imagine standing waist-deep in a powerful, fast-moving river. The current is strong, carrying leaves and branches downstream toward the wide ocean. But instead of turning and floating gently with the water, you plant your feet and try to push the river backward with your bare hands. You shove against the water, desperate to make it flow in reverse, back to the safe shores of yesterday. The river does not hate you. It is not punishing you, but it will not stop. And the longer you stand there fighting the current, the more shivering, battered, and entirely exhausted you become. This is exactly how we act in our modern lives. You return to your daily routines, sit at your desk, and deeply resent the mundane tasks in front of you. You look at your phone, see other people moving on, and feel a bitter anger at their normalcy. You feel immense pressure to keep up, yet an invisible weight holds you back. You are trying to push the river backward. You are fighting the simple fact that the sun must rise again, and that life, no matter what happens, will always demand to be lived. Ask yourself, think about your own life. How much of your daily exhaustion comes from fighting the current? Are you secretly angry at the world simply because it continues to spin? Pause, breathe, drop your hands. Stop trying to push the water backward. Let the feeling of resistance rise, and then let it wash downstream. You do not have to swim fast. You do not even have to know exactly where the water is taking you. Do your part, then release the outcome, because peace is not found by forcing the world to stand still. It is found by surrendering to the flow. But as you finally allow yourself to move forward, you must rethink your relationship with the specific physical spaces you are leaving behind. And this is where the next truth begins. 7. Redefining the places they left behind. What if the physical spaces of your past do not belong to your memories, but to the present moment? Here is the truth few people want to face. We mistakenly believe that a place is forever defined by what happened there. You map your city or your home with invisible caution tape. You take a longer route home from work just to avoid driving past a certain building. You refuse to walk through a specific park, and you keep the door to a certain room firmly shut. You have mentally mapped these locations as monuments of loss. We avoid certain neighborhoods and abandon the spaces we once loved because we have given the physical geography complete power over our emotions. We treat these everyday places as permanent shrines to what we no longer have, allowing a single memory to dictate where we are allowed to exist. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound truth of non-attachment and the inherent neutrality of all things. A place, in its true nature, has no emotional charge. A room is simply walls, light, and empty space. A street is just pavement and sky. The heavy sorrow you feel when you stand there is your own mind projecting an old movie onto a completely blank screen. In Buddhism, letting go does not mean forgetting the beautiful or painful things that occurred in that space. It means releasing the environment from the impossible burden of carrying your past. It is the realization that the physical world is entirely empty of meaning until you assign a meaning to it. Imagine a quiet, deep lake surrounded by tall pines. One evening, a fierce, terrifying storm rolls in. The wind howls, and the water becomes dark, violent, and churning. If you only remember the lake from that one specific night, you will fear standing on its shores forever. But the lake itself does not hold on to the storm. When the morning comes, the wind dies down, and the water settles into a perfect, glassy stillness. It simply reflects the clear blue sky again. The water is completely empty of the storm. We do not allow the spaces in our modern lives to reflect the clear sky. You walk into a coffee shop you used to visit together, and you actively force the water to churn. You lock a room in your house, letting it gather dust, freezing it in time. You are punishing the present environment for the pain of yesterday. We force these places to remain dark and violent, preventing them from hosting new life, new laughter, and new quiet moments of peace. Ask yourself, think about your own life. What spaces have you turned into dark monuments of grief? What rooms have you abandoned out of fear? Are you ready to let those places simply be places again? Pause, breathe. The next time you walk past a heavy location, look at it with fresh eyes. Observe the walls, the trees, or the empty chair. Let the memory rise without following it. Silently tell the space, you are free to just be a room now. Let the location exist purely in the present, because peace is not found by running away from the geography of your past. It is found by allowing those spaces to breathe again. And once you release the physical places they left behind, you must finally turn inward toward the hardest release of all. And this is where the final truth begins. What if the ultimate act of love is not how long you can suffer, but how beautifully you can heal? We began this journey standing in those painfully quiet spaces, the familiar streets, the empty rooms, the silent corners that suddenly echoed with everything that was missing. You felt exhausted, anxious, and weighed down by the invisible ghost of yesterday. You believed that if you let the physical places change, or if you allowed your heart to feel a genuine moment of lightness, you were somehow breaking a sacred promise. You held tightly to the sadness because, for a very long time, it felt like the only bridge left between you and the person you lost. But here is the final truth. The profound lesson of Buddhist wisdom is that love does not require a bridge of suffering to survive. True non-attachment is not cold, and it is not an act of forgetting. It is the deep, spiritual understanding that the person you lost is no longer trapped in the physical locations of your past, and they certainly do not live in the empty chair at your table. They have simply become part of the vast, unseen fabric of your life. When you finally release the intense guilt over your own healing, you are not leaving them behind. You are carrying them forward into the light. Peace was never meant to be an enemy of love. Think of everything we have explored. The mirror is empty. The river must continue to flow toward the open ocean. The winter tree must eventually grow a new green leaf, and the quiet, darkened room must eventually let in the morning sun. You are a living part of nature, and nature's greatest instinct is to repair, to breathe, and to live. You do not have to drag the heavy iron anchor behind your boat for the rest of your journey. You can finally cut the rope. You can walk through the locations of your past without instinctively bracing for an emotional impact, knowing that the environment is completely neutral and your spirit is entirely safe. Remember this: the next time you find yourself laughing loudly with a friend in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, do not punish yourself. When you hear a familiar song and feel a sudden wave of peace instead of panic, do not force the tears to return out of a false sense of loyalty. When you walk past that building you used to avoid, step lightly. Let the joy happen. Let the lightness stay. Let the memory be a quiet blessing rather than a sharp blade. You have spent enough time guarding the museum of your grief. Now, you must find the courage to step outside and breathe the fresh air. The deepest, most profound way to honor a beautiful past is to live fully and completely in the present moment. Ask yourself one final time: are you ready to forgive yourself for being alive? Are you ready to let the memory of loss soften into a pure memory of love? You do not have to do it all at once. Letting go is a gentle, quiet practice. It is simply the daily choice of presence. Pause, breathe. Look around the space you are sitting in right now. It is just a space, and you are just here, alive, breathing, and completely whole. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now